voting constituents, no change, no change, no change, no change.
Good night, good night, good night, Barbados Labour Party. Good night, Savannah Road. Good night, Bush Hall, Yard Gap. Good night, St. Michael Central. Good night, St. Michael Northeast. People, do you have your manifesto? Do you have your copy? Well, I shop. Go and get one. Because I will tell you this. I have never, and I was going to say in all the years, I was going to call the years, but Tyra now come and overtake as the youngest one, so I can't call these years now. But I have never, whether in political service or before, seen a country and seen Barbadians so interested and hungry to have this manifesto. I have never seen the level of interest in a manifesto. And it is interesting to me too, because with your support and with your work and with your votes on February 11th, we would be looking for a third term helping to lead this country. Are you here, winner? And so it is interesting to me that a country feels so interested and so engaged, and I see what the polls say, and I see all of this thing about voter apathy and all that, but I tell you that I walk around in St. Michael. And everywhere I go in St. Michael and everywhere I go in Barbados, people are saying, I want the manifesto, you got the manifesto, I want to hear about this, I want to hear about that. Well, we are mounting a platform tonight, and over the next few days, that we will take our time. And we will talk through the nuts and bolts of these policies, because I'm going to tell you something. Governance is not a joke. And you will see the Democratic Labour Party mount platforms and come up with all kinds of policies that they have not costed. They do not know how they will get them done. And they do not know when they have offered all of these things in order to get a vote, how they will execute. Because they have no idea what it takes to run a country. Because Davidson said tonight that perhaps the Barbados Labour Party makes it look easy. So they think that all is required is to put on a jacket and come into Parliament, or go and set up a stage and stand up in front of a dog and two cats and a centipede and talk. Well, it calls for more than that. And so tonight, I want to talk to you about this manifesto. I want to talk to you about two things that I feel resonate with people. Just two tonight. We got time. They got other speakers up here. And I want to talk to you about leadership, and I want to talk to you about Tyra Trotman. Now, I feel, and I have this thing that I do where even though I am in political service to St. Michael South Central and to the people of this country, I remember what it was like before I was involved in political life and political service. And I cannot put down that part of who I am and step away, because I carry that with me. I come from St. Clair Road in Haggett Hall. My mother was a seamstress, and then she was a nursing assistant, and then she was a child care attendant. And my father was an electrician. And even though he's supposed to be retired, he don't stop home. He still thinks he's an electrician and walking all about the place, pulling at wires for people. That's just who the man is. But when I look at this manifesto, and the reason I think that Barbadians feel so connected to it is that they see themselves in it. We see ourselves in it. And the things that resonate with us are all of the things that we've been dreaming of, and you heard the Prime Minister say it at the launch of the manifesto. Now, when we came to service as a government in 2018, we had lots of plans, and you saw it in the 2018 manifesto, and many of those things were delivered, but some of those things COVID stopped. Some of the things that required people to be outside and required us to be engaging with people all the time, COVID stopped and ashfall stopped and extreme weather events stopped. And we had to make sure that the country was settled and safe and healthy before we went forward. And so when we look at this manifesto, this covenant with you, the people of Barbados, now in 2026, it reflects a government and a Barbados Labour Party that have been able to do the stabilization and do the safekeeping. And now we got a little more freedom. I don't want to say you can let go of your hand a little bit, but you can let go of your hand a little bit. You could free up a little bit because you got a little bit more space. You got a little bit more space because of the good way, the good governance, the sound fiscal management, the things that we have done to secure this country. And so having passed through all of those things, we are now in full stride. But I want to talk to you in particular about two parts of this manifesto, two policies. And one of the reasons I love service as a member of Parliament, one of the reasons I loved service as a representative for St. Michael South Central, is that when I was privileged to sit in the cabinet, I carry South Central with me. Tyra Trotman will carry wherever she goes St. Michael Central with her. That is why we are here. So when you sit down in a cabinet and you discuss policies, you have to tell yourself, well, how is that going to affect the people in Britain's Hill, the young people that want to play football? How is that going to affect the business owners in the Marl Hole that want to start a business? And that is what I mean when I say to you that we all see ourselves in this manifesto. And I don't stand here and act excited about it just because. But when I tell you that we feel proud of this work, I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't only see myself, I don't only see my family, I see all the people and families of St. Michael South Central. When I was at school, I finished CXEs, finished fifth form, summer passed, and I got up this Sunday and I start pressing my school clothes. And I start pressing my school clothes to go into lower six at school. And my father came in and saw me pressing. And he looked at what I was pressing and he said, well, you ain't done school. That's what he said. He said, where you going? You ain't done school. And because for him, sixth form was not a reality that he had ever contemplated in his own life. My father left school, 15 years old, went and did City of Guilds, became an electrician, and he took great pride in that, as did all of us. But in his mind, he had a certain length to go. And that length that he had to go was up until 16. That's it. That's the time, and that's the end. And I know that my father and my mother, committed parents as they were, they would have found a way. And they intended to find a way to carry on. But I'll tell you the truth. I said to my father, look, Daddy, go ahead. I got it. And you know what I did? I went and worked weekends and summers as a cashier at Carlton Supermarket, as it was then. I started teaching classes at the gym. I was working. And I was working because many of our families and communities, we have to find ways to take pressure off in the family. So when we say to young people, we want you to do this course, and we want you to do that course, yes, we should provide those opportunities, but always be mindful that a family has to eat, and they carry that pressure with them. And so when I reflect on the Barbados Republic Child Wealth Fund, that means something to young people who, by the time they get to the age of 18, that $5,000 that they were able to get at birth, that was able to remain in an investment vehicle and earn and earn and earn, well, guess what? That can take them the rest of the way. If their parents, not because they don't want to, not because they are not fully invested in their children, but because of the circumstances, if their parents are not able to take them the rest of the way, this is a way that young people can go the rest of the way. And I want us to think about what this is and what this means. And I want you all to listen to these policies on the manifesto, because when you go on the road for Tyra Trotman, and when you go on the road for Davis and Ishmael, you need to be able to talk to people and explain what this is and what these policies mean. Because these are not just things on a piece of paper. These have real meaning in people's lives. You know, this is one of the reasons why I will never stop reminding this country about the role that the Barbados Labour Party played in education. And there are people who believe that free education in this country is a Barrow thing. And I have full respect for Errol Barrow. But I want Barbados Labour Party people to be able to tell the story of this party. Because this is a Barbados Labour Party that expanded access to secondary education in circumstances where there were only a few schools that people's children could go to. I ain't hear you all. I can't hear you all. Do not be ashamed of the record. Know the record of this Barbados Labour Party. Because people like to get up on platforms and say all kinds of things. But not only did we expand access to secondary education, but after the Democratic Labour Party had done their worst between 2008 and 2018, we then had to come back and restore free tertiary education so that people wouldn't have to go and take out loans to send school their children in working class families all around Barbados. And I don't want you all to ever stop telling that story. And I will tell you why. I hear a lot about voter apathy. I hear a lot about how this notion that people are not coming out to vote. And I want to tell you that I was on the road yesterday. And I talked to a young woman, lovely young woman, working hard to take care of her daughter. But she told me that her daughter is 18. And she said she didn't know she was going to vote. She said, well, I don't know. What's the difference? I said to her, your daughter is 18. And she's studying, right? I said, are you aware that the Democratic Labour Party, if it were up to them, would have you out here borrowing money and putting up your house and trying to put together 2 cents and $2 to try and send your child to school? Are you aware that if it were up to them, that is the position that you would be in today? This foolishness about how it don't matter who in. You still gotta live. Well, yes, you still gotta live. And that is why this is a covenant. Because it takes me and it takes you. You still gotta live. You still gotta get up and meet me halfway. But I don't ever want us to stop reminding people of the damage that a Democratic Labour Party government can wreak on this country. It makes a difference. But not only does this manifesto and do the policies in this manifesto bridge the gap between generations, it bridges the gap between generations because where there is a generation that is not able to leave back something, to be able to allow their children to thrive, a lot of us, our parents weren't able to leave back something. That is what this Republic Wealth Fund for Children does. I always reflect when I speak to you or when I speak to anyone about how the work that we do as a Barbados Labour Party government affects my people. You know, I had a situation where a constituent who lived in the Colomoro area tried his best and fought his hardest to be able to get title under the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act. And he talks about it all the time. Now, it seems to me that a previous Democratic Labour Party government just considered this something that it could put down rest one side because it did not consider that they should continue this legacy. But I want to make something very clear. Ownership matters in this country. Ownership is important. And so, the approach to housing that this manifesto lays out is one that prioritizes giving people ownership of where they live. In circumstances where if it were up to the people that enslaved our foreparents, we would not have anything. And I want y'all to be able to listen and understand these things as you read through the manifesto so that you can go and talk to people. So that you can make sure that come February 11th, all of your neighbors, all of your friends, all of your workmates are planning to go out and vote for the Barbados Labour Party representative in their constituency. You know, I feel very strongly that the biggest economic movement in a country like Barbados has to do with housing and land and ownership. And that is what this manifesto is able to lay out. Ownership matters. But I'll tell you what else matters. Leadership matters. I want y'all to do something for me come February 11th. I want y'all to rescue me from having to listen to Ralph Thorne in Parliament when the Tuesday come. Y'all gonna do that for me? Can't take it no more. I cannot take these unserious people that are only looking to secure themselves and their well-being and their pensions and thinking that governance is just about talking. Leadership matters. And I know sometimes, you know, we tend to take nice things for granted. I know there got some men in this audience tonight. They had a lady for a little while. And she keep looking sweet. And she keep doing the things that make you feel nice. And after a while, you just get used to it. And you forget that she's as fantastic as she is. I ain't hear one of the men very, very quiet down there tonight. And similarly, I feel that we are so used to excellence. We are so used to excellence in leadership in the Prime Minister, Emir Amor Motley, that perhaps we feel that this is normal. This is not normal, you know. I watched that interview, and this is not about international acclaim, because the Prime Minister does not care about that. But when we come to be able to watch these things, I watched that interview with Trevor Noah. He's just one man. But I watched the absolute awe with which he looked at her and considered the thoughts coming out of her head. And why? Because she was talking about people and humanity and making a difference. And the Democratic Labour Party does not care about that. Do you remember the fatted calf remarks? I don't want us to forget these things. I want us to consider what we are risking if we decide that we ain't gonna bother to knock next door because them people ain't coming out anyway, I ain't gonna bother with them. We need to be able to get every vote to count because the Democratic Labour Party does not know how to run this country, and this is not the time to experiment with leadership. But I want to tell you too that you also have strong leadership in Tyra Trotman and St. Michael Central. And you know, leadership is not always about who is at the front or who is at the top. I tell my young footballers all the time that you lead wherever you are. And when I look at Tyra, you know, Tyra makes me smile. She has the heart for people. I watch how she canvasses. I watch the fact that she is interested in every word that people are saying. I heard somebody say the other day that the man that's running against me, he's looked straight through you. The same one that y'all thinking about. He doesn't connect with people. He don't know what you're saying. He's getting bored. He just want you hush. I ain't say so. People say so. But when I look at Tyra, when I watch how she interacts with people, that's where it starts and that's where it ends. And I know that she has a heart for people. But the other thing that I like about Tyra, and it makes me giggle, and we giggle a lot when we look at one another, is that she has complete disdain for foolishness. And that's why she left the Democratic Labour Party. Nobody ain't got time with that. Nobody ain't got time with all of that drama. People have work to do. And so I know, I don't have a doubt in my mind that she is a brilliant addition to this parliamentary party. I know that she will be a fantastic addition once you do what is necessary and go out on February 11th. I ain't here winner. Once you do what is necessary and go out on February 11th and vote for Tyra Trotman to be your next representative in the constituency of St. Michael's Central. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.